Hello and welcome to Camera Review. Today we are unboxing a Micro Four Thirds lens, namely Panasonic Leica 12mm at f1.4. This lens, ultra sharp and very compact, is one of the best lenses you can buy for a Micro Four Thirds camera. Panasonic has gone in collaboration with Leica to produce this ultra sharp lens. Today we will briefly examine what this lens is, its features, and in our future reviews we will look into how this lens performs on the field as well as its image quality. With a 24mm equivalent in 35mm, it is a wide-angle lens that performs spectacularly on the field and also as one of the sharpest lenses in the market. Alright, so this is the Summilux G, Panasonic Leica DG Summilux 12mm f1.4 aspherical. This is important because this is a very fast lens, one of the fastest lenses that Panasonic produces in conjunction with Leica. Actually, the design and the technology is superb, and it comes from using the best that Leica has in terms of technology and putting it into a kind of a lens that will serve for anyone who's interested in doing Micro Four Thirds and filming purposes. Now here is splash and dust proof, which is wonderful. You can see it here, and also it is one of the lenses that is produced in Japan that has the marking here, the 62mm. That's the front thread. That means if you are going to get any ND filters or a kind of any filter that you want to put in front, you need to get a 62mm filter. And of course, if you are to open this, it will be sort of like this. Let's have a look. First things first is this little unit here, and as the first thing we see is the lens hood. Now, lens hood is important if you are going to use it outdoors, and it stops from light bouncing off and creating ghosting and creating unwanted flares in the lens itself. So it is important to look at this and see that this is solidly built and it is not plasticky, which is wonderful, because otherwise it would have just been something that would have broken easily. This is something that seems sturdy and well made, so we'll put that aside. Here we have the lens pouch. So we open that one here and have a look at it. The lens pouch is nothing to write home about. It's the same lens pouch that comes with all other Panasonic lenses, and it has the shiny interior. It doesn't protect your lens from anything except dust, maybe. It doesn't have padding to really help your lens from getting banged around, but it's nice to have. So you can put it in your bag and make sure it doesn't get scratched and everything. So let's have a look inside. Next thing you see here, there we go. Operational instructions. Now this is a very standard thing that comes with all Panasonic lenses. You get this thing with the same kind of layout. The model number H-X012. Says Summilux and Micro Four Thirds HD. I don't know why they say it's HD when it's shooting 4K as well. And then there is Leica Summilux DG Summilux, splash and dust proof, operating instructions, and we'll see. First time opening it, so a little hard. but it does open. So this is the registration warranty card you will get with it. Unlimited worldwide warranty, it says. So it's good. Keeps you updated. So, and this is pan-European guarantee in case you are in Europe. And let's have a look at the manual for a brief second. It says, do not place your lens as such. It's important. Well, don't want any condensation or dirt going in, so you always have to put the cap back on, and you don't want to damage the contacts that are on the back of the lens that has electronic contacts. Here you'll see the instructions pointing out the lens surfaces. There is a switch here that's important. That's the autofocus switch, and you'll say here you get the lens pouch, the cap, and everything else, and then it shows you how to put the lens cap back on and off. If you haven't measured that, this is important. Now here is something that I want to mention, very, very important, and that is to see here is 15 elements in 12 groups. That means this is a highly complex lens. Highly complex lens. It's the best lens that I have seen so far. It is the first lens I would ever buy when it comes to micro four thirds. It has a 12mm focal length. It means that you're going to have 24mm equivalent. It has 9 diaphragm blades. Now this is something that you should always notice, because all the time we get these lenses coming out of other micro four thirds lens manufacturers, and also with Panasonic, they have 7 diaphragms, and what that creates is these octagon shaped bouquets, which is not as pleasant as having a 9 diaphragm blades. And that is something that I think that they could work on, making sure that it has 9. Also, the closest focus distance is 0.2, which is 20 centimeters or 0.66 feet. Now that is similar to 15mm and 20mm that's available from Panasonic. Also, there is no magnification per se, 0.1. What is important here to notice the angle of view, which is 84, and that is in line with everything else. One other thing that is to note is that it's 335 grams. Here, unlike other catalogs or manuals in Panasonic lineup, this actually has German in it. German is not often written, but this one has it, and it is, well, a little bit more beefed up with different languages, Spanish, probably French, Japanese. It's all very good. So there we have that one. Now let's look at this here. The lens, of course, doesn't come in this nice pouches that some of the other lenses that come with the Leicas. So here we are. Let's have a look. It says 12mm here, 0.2, which means the closest focus distance to infinity. It says do not dispose it and throw it in the garbage. Well, it's definitely something I want to keep for a long time. Here it says made in Japan. Now Panasonic pays premium money to Leica to use their name, and rightfully they want to make sure that they get the best out of it, even though these lenses are manufactured in Japan and not Germany. Here again, Panasonic makes use of Leica's name and reputation by putting Leica there and not Panasonic or Lumix written here, because this is something that makes this lens more precious. Here we got the 62mm thread marking here. Aspherical surfaces. This has 2 aspherical surfaces. It is a f1.4, which is rather fast lens, and it's called a SUMMILUX. SUMMILUX lineup is lenses that are in Leica's lineup, and they call the 1.4 f1.4 SUMMILUX lenses. Now, interestingly, one of their lenses that is produced for one of their fixed lens cameras has a f1.7. They still call it SUMMILUX, and I was laughing because that's not how it should have been named. but they did that because they didn't want to name it Summicron. Summicron means the f2 version of the lenses that they produce. Anyways, so here it is. It's beautiful glass element. There is no protrusion per se that much if you look at it from the side, so that means you can put pretty much any filter on it without having any trouble. And of course the dial is very nice. My finger is not touching the sides. It's nice, it's very smooth. It is infinity focus. So what happens is this doesn't have any hard stops, so it makes it a little bit more difficult if you're using follow focus, because with follow focus you will need to have hard stops to know where you can mark the beginning and the end. Otherwise you could you want to go to infinity, you keep spinning and spinning and never know that you arrived there. Another thing, most of the time this lens is intended to be used at autofocus, which GH5 has improved quite considerably on it, although they have had issues with autofocus, which I have made a video on how to resolve those issues. But you can leave it on autofocus and it will kind of arrange all the other settings accordingly. Personally, I like to know what I'm setting my aperture at, so you can put this at f2.8, f4, f5.6. You're gonna get very sharp images, and this is one lens that will not disappoint you. Now, interestingly, if I open this and you look at inside of this lens, when I turn the aperture, nothing moves inside, because this is a fake aperture control, technically speaking, because it's not mechanical. It only tells the computer chip inside of this lens to connect with the electronics of the camera and say, camera, change my aperture. It's like changing it from the camera itself, like all Panasonic lenses. So this is only a fancy way of changing the aperture manually from the exterior. I would have wanted to be mechanical, because mechanical stuff, they last forever. Now these electronics, we'll see how much they last, but it looks very solidly built. It's not like those other plasticky stuff. It actually has metal pieces, although this here, the focus dial and aperture dial, is made out of not such a sturdy material. It's very well made. Now here are the contacts. As you can see, the contacts are very nice, and it helps the camera to perform perfectly. Now, one thing it's worth noting is that this lens does not come with image stabilization, so it's not going to be as good as other lenses that have optical stabilization and combined with the in-body stabilization, because that produces far better stable images. Yet this lens is very fast, and because it's fast, it would have been nice to have the stabilization. But as I said, this is the first lens I would ever get if I were to get a GH5, and that's what I did. This is the first lens I got. Now here you can see autofocus, manual focus. If you're going to use it on manual, you have to shift it. But personally, I like to use this lens always at manual focus, because then I can know where I am at and I can use follow focus. Because as you may know, that when you're shifting from one object to another and you're trying to focus, camera is not that intelligent yet to know that you are actually aiming to focus at a different subject. So it will start hunting if you're not careful and you haven't set the right settings. Which, by the way, reminds me that I will be doing a video on showing you the best settings to use your GH5 so that your camera doesn't hunt to capture proper images. Here we got the Lumix G. They didn't write Leica, so it's nice. It's well made, and it's very good. It's a little heavier than the other lenses. For example, if you look at the 20mm or the 15mm, the one of them is 87, the other one is 115 grams. This is about 3 times the weight of the heaviest of them, which is 335. But I will still love this lens and use it all the time. And if you are going to get this lens, the wide angle, you can do all kinds of photography and filming, especially at night, because it's a fast lens. I hope you have enjoyed this review, And I hope to see you in our next review as we look into more of the new cameras and lenses that are coming out in the market, as we examine them closely to see their better characteristics, also the pros and cons of using them. Also, please stay tuned as NAB is coming up really soon, as we will have more and more announcements about the new releases of cameras and lenses. And please stay tuned by subscribing to our channel and liking our video. And I thank you for watching.